Oh, how's it going? Maybe I should clean off my camera. Cause it looks like Ishkabibble. Hey everybody. Welcome. Welcome. I know no one's technically on here yet. I didn't announce this live stream. I'm not trying to make it all fancy and whatnot. I just wanted to come on here and say hello and basically answer any questions that people might have. This is kind of think about it as a bit of a give back. I don't claim to know everything. It's far from it, but I've spent a lot of time living in this place. I've been living in this place of just making sense of the world for 15 plus years, maybe even 20 years now, almost. And a lot of people arrive at this place of like awakening, awareness, or whatever, and they're just confused. How do you live life? What do you do? What does it look like? What's the job look like? What do relationships look like? Friendships, all these things. I just wanted to come on here and answer any questions. So if you have any questions, I just want you to pop them on. What do you want to know? What are you curious about? Feel free to ask me anything. I write a lot of books, and I've written like 4 books in the last 3 or 4 years or so. And I love writing because it's just a way to release and to share. And I give my books away for free, so you can always check that out. I have links on my other videos, all my books. I talk a lot about living barefoot. Hey, nice to see you too. I talk a lot about being, just like living in truth. I talk a lot about that perspective through cooking, through music. Because the truth is, all these different mediums that I like. You need more patience. I'll get to that in if you have 2 seconds of patience, I'll get to that. Every medium that I share always goes back to the same thing. Have more patience in your life. I like the joke that you can't be a doctor without patience. My dad's a doctor. It's kind of a stupid joke, but what's interesting to me is I was probably the least patient kid growing up. ADHD, just very hyperactive. This, next thing. I didn't have the patience to like put in the time for different projects, and I wanted to grow food, but I wanted everything right now. I wanted to put big trees in the ground and have the biggest apples and all this stuff. But my dad was always so patient. He would take his time. He would, if something was broken, he would figure out how to fix it. He would like take the whole cabinet apart and piece by piece work it through. Whereas like my mom's more of like a kick the cabinet in kind of person if it was jammed. And what I've started to see over the years is that patience is the thing you just naturally develop over time. The more you remind yourself to slow down, that there's no rush, there's no place to get to, there's no like finish line, the more that something shifts and suddenly it's like, oh, wait, I can just do that, right? Yeah, and sometimes life can be busy and crazy, but you start to design your life more and more to have the space for it. So if something like patience is something that you desire, start to think about what are little ways that you can remind your brain when it starts to speed up or rush or like want to get through something. They're like, no, the point of this is to be in it. So I'll give you a bit of a story. When I first moved to Denver, Colorado from New York City, I was coming with that big Apple energy, and I just wanted to get stuff done, and I wanted to grow food, but I wanted the food to be done and now, and I was watering and I was weeding and I was like doing it very quick and like trying to get through it. And then one day it clicked. I was like, wait a second. The reason that I left New York City is to get out of this vibration. I didn't want to be like trying to get through stuff. The whole point of gardening and growing food, yeah, getting your own food and growing it is great, but to me the whole point of it is the whole process, because you get benefits the whole way if you're present. If you're sitting there and you're in the dirt and you're breaking the dirt up and you're feeling it and you're smelling it, and then you're putting the plant in the ground and you're watering, every step is an amazing healing for yourself. It's not just the final, okay, now I get the thing, I get to eat it, and it's like, what can you do for me? It's like the whole process, getting to love on the food, just like cooking, getting to love on the ingredients. Yeah, you might be excited for the meal to be ready, but if you can just sit there and chill, enjoy it, that's great. America helped you. Good afternoon. So yes, Claire. Good question. Just background. You're talking about my time in Peru. I'm assuming. Also, I was in Costa Rica, but Central America. But so I went to Peru and I did some ayahuasca ceremonies. And hello, I did some ayahuasca ceremonies and they were very powerful. I found it's been a couple of years now since I've done that kind of work, but it was really powerful. And I am doing well. I'm talking about, somebody asked me how my time was in South America. Did it help me like heal inward and everything? And what I've seen is that that kind of work, plant medicine work, can be really powerful and amazing and blow your mind open and have all these healings, and they definitely help me in ways. But for me, the healing is always happening. And my partner Aja and I like to joke, it's like healing without healing. The healing process happens all the time. I'm having so much trouble finding mindful sessions. Claire, if you shoot me an email at youenjoylifemusic@gmail.com, we do offer private sessions too, as well as other stuff like free meditations and things that you can get. So just shoot me an email, just mention your name, youenjoylifemusic@gmail.com. But what I found is the more you bring presence into your life, the more you bring in that awareness and you recognize that you can heal all the time. You know, you can go to Peru and have a mind-blowing experience on ayahuasca with shamans in the jungle and have your head blown off, and that can be great. And also you could wake up in the morning and be on the toilet taking a good poop and have a revelation. So the point is that when you're in that state of presence, when you're in it, when you're connected to yourself, when you're connected to that magic, to that spirit, you know, healing is happening everywhere. Every moment is a chance to grow. There's a chance to learn. There's a chance to shed some false belief. So if you're interested in the Peru stuff, I actually made a video on my YouTube channel about doing ayahuasca and my experience, and in my books, which I give away for free. You can check out the links in my bio. I think also if you go to youenjoylife.us/a gift for you, that's my web. There's a bunch of free stuff there. Yeah. So if you're just joining, I just wanted to come on here. Anna, nice to see you. I just wanted to come on here and just answer any questions that you might have. You know, I know life can be confusing and strange, and it's hard to find support. It's hard to find mentorship. It's hard to find people that you trust that can kind of give you some advice. So let me be just of service in this time that we're here together, and I'll stay on here so long as people have questions. So if you have a question, please ask away. If you have a comment, an idea, a thought that you want to share, and while people are considering their questions, no, there's no wrong question. There's nothing you can say that's going to be too crazy or too weird. At least for me, I'm as weird as they come, and I've explored all those things. I wish there was a Zen 101. Yeah, I think I have a video on here maybe about Buddhism, kind of like beginner's guide to Buddhism. I definitely take much more of a Zen approach to it. And you know what would be cool to do? Claire, I'm going to do this for you right now. I'm going to give you a Zen tarot reading. Screw it, why not? Let's do it, right? This will be fun. Okay. So this, and you guys can join along because I almost guarantee you that this is going to be like really powerful. I feel like time goes by too fast. Any advice on slowing down? Yeah. So while I shuffle these decks for Claire, we're going to do a little tarot reading here. This is a beautiful, beautiful deck that I did. Let's see if I can get some better light. I should know better as a YouTuber that you gotta face the sun. Okay. Slowing down life, it's a thing, for sure. But all you have to do is remember to breathe and be present, because every moment can be amazing. We're trying to get to the next thing. There's this idea externally that like there's something out there that's going to fulfill us that we don't have in this moment. So it's like, oh, I got to get to the next thing, If I do this, then I'll be that. And if I get this, and it's just all external, just lies. They don't really make any sense. So when you just pause and you remember, wow, life is a miracle. The fact that I'm alive and that I'm breathing and I can have this ability to just exist is freaking crazy. So Claire, I'm going to do a little reading here. My life's so insane. I moved 30 miles away from closest family, just feel so scattered. Okay, so that is a good, we're going to do a tarot reading here. And if you don't know, this is Zen Tarot. It's based on an Osho deck, so it's not like super mystical, it's more practical. Like you can just make sense of the cards. So I'm gonna do a 3-card reading for you. And we're gonna base it on that, what you're saying, like just feeling really scattered. Okay, here's the first card. Here's the second card, and I'm feeling, here's the third card. Okay, so first card, let's see. Boom, what do we got there? Healing, okay. So I'm gonna pull the cards first, and then I'm gonna explain them and how they all relate to each other. So first card is healing, second card is breakthrough. Wow, look at that, boom, breakthrough, right? Third card is the burden. Wow, this is a good reading. Okay, so let's start with the burden. Let's start backwards. The burden is, you're saying you're moving away from your family, and I don't know your situation at all. I'm just going to say some things, and anything that resonates with you, just kind of feel into what it means. And maybe even what you see in the cards, it might be certain things where you're like, oh damn, oh damn, oh damn. So the way these cards work is they're very intuitive. think about it like they're helping you understand your life and helping you think outside of the box to tell a bit of a story to give you some guidance. So maybe there was some kind of burden that you're either feeling now that you were feeling before. I mean, you moved 30 minutes away from anybody, you're feeling very scattered, but there's probably something that you're holding on to still, whether that's some sort of pressure, some sort of, like a feeling just pressure from family or pressure from life, or there's some kind of burden, something weighing you down, right? Now, the breakthrough. So this card, there's always a moment in life when we have a breakthrough. When things get hard, I call it tension and release. It's a big term that's used in music. And what happens is that certain musicians and certain styles of music, they'll create a lot of tension. Because the tension is like, it's what's kind of, oh God, what's up? But you stay in the tension. You allow yourself to be in it. You don't make up a story. You don't try to run from it. You stay in the feeling. Because eventually, boom, the release, the breakthrough. This will come. This will come. So where you're heading right now is this breakthrough. There's a reason you moved away. You might not understand the reason. It might not be conscious. It might be so far out there beyond your brain. But there is a release coming, okay? I promise you there is this big breakthrough that's about to happen. It's going to all make sense about everything you've done in your life, right? And it might be a big breakthrough. Or it might be these little breakthroughs. It doesn't matter. Just be aware of little moments that remind you why you did what you did and where you are and where you're going. And that all leads to, hey, Bigu, look who it is. It's Mr. Bigu. Come, look at this cute cat. So this leads to healing. So, and maybe you're in the state right now, being far away, there's a healing happening that you're not really aware of. Because healing, like I said earlier, happens on all levels. It's not just something that we have to consciously do. There's so many practices, there's so many retreats and programs and things people are trying to sign up for, but your life is trying to heal you all the time. It's like, think about your body right now. You have white blood cells that are constantly cleaning out everything, right? They're just going through your body and they're cleaning all this stuff out and they're making sure that you're just good and you're in a good space. So there's always something healing you, whether it's on an emotional, physical, spiritual, whatever levels. There are things that are healing you without you having to do it. So you don't always have to understand, but just being in the process is really powerful. Wow, you have leukemia. Okay, well, there you go. So this is exactly what's happening. And again, this is just my interpretation. Life is feeling really scattered. There's this burden going on. You have leukemia right now. Maybe you're feeling scared, you're feeling lost, you're feeling lonely, but I want you to know that there's a big healing happening in your life right now. This isn't even me speaking, right? This is just something happening. Yeah, it's okay, so let me explain this. So I would have never mentioned white blood cells before, but I was watching a video earlier and somebody was taking a slide. They were like, I'm going to see what it looks to look at my blood. I can't believe this is happening. Okay. So again, I don't know hardly anything about leukemia, so I'm not pretending I know anything about it, but let me just explain this and see if this makes sense to you. So randomly today I was given a video on TikTok or Instagram, one of the two, where somebody was looking at a slide of their blood. And they just wanted to see what it was like. And in it, they had taken the blood out of their body. And in it, there were white blood cells moving around all the red blood cells and looking for things that they could clean up, right? And take care of. And what the guy was saying in this point, he's like, this is so crazy. My white blood cells are taking care of me, even when they're out of my body. He's like, that is how, he's like, that, sorry, I just got a text message that relates to this. He's like, that is how, that's how amazing my white blood cells are. They're so loyal to me. Even when they're outside of my body, they're helping me. So that is the idea that I want to make with this. And if you want, you can take a screenshot of this reading. I think it's a really beautiful reading here, right? So there's a burden. Maybe it's probably emotional and physical for you, I imagine. But what's happening is there's a healing. And I could also feel like I could arrange this like this as well. This is another way to tell the story, where you have a burden happening and there's a healing going on that you're not aware of, right? And at some point you're going to have that breakthrough. Everything feels really scattered and scary, but I just want to remind you that no matter what happens in life, everything happens for you. And it might sound cliche and it might sound cheesy, but I know this for me to be 1,000% true. And I've had a lot of wild, crazy things happen in my life, from physical, emotional, spiritual, health, just things happen that I could have never imagined. And in the moment, it often doesn't make sense. In the moment, we all often are like, "Oh, it's crazy, it's scary. I don't know what to do." But there's something higher happening. There's a piece of you that is speaking out, that's speaking inward, right, and trying to tell you something. And we don't know how much time we have on this planet. Listen, my life could end tomorrow, and the thing is, like, I have no regrets, right? Because I don't know, and it's that knowing that things could end tomorrow, tonight, that I could lose somebody I love in like an instant. That's what allows me to be so present on this earth. That's what allows me to be here, because I'm not so focused on, how much time I have, but rather doing what the time that I have in this. All I know is that I have right now. What can I do in this moment? So I really appreciate you, Claire, sharing that. And like I said, email me, youenjoylifemusic@gmail.com. I can send some resources. We can chat about some sessions. Do some private sessions. My partner also does amazing breath work and meditation, in person and online, that kind of stuff. And yeah, I like to give out books and resources and what have you. If anybody else has other questions, please feel free, as you're watching this, to just ask me anything about anything in life. It can be feet, foot, music related, or life, whatever it might be. I can also, if somebody else wants a reading, I've got my deck here, so I'm happy to do a little bit of a reading. Yeah. I did actually an Ayurvedic astrology, a Vedic astrology reading. Yeah, my pleasure, Claire. And it was just saying, like, part of my reading was like just to really be of service to humanity. And I do know that. That's why I like sharing stuff for free. And sometimes I'm like, what are new ways that I can do that? What are ways I can get out there? Because oftentimes when I'm making videos, it's like, I've got an idea, I'm excited about it, press record, boom, there it goes. And I'm like, wait, there's this whole live thing where people can literally come on here and I just need to center, yes. People can come on here and just ask questions. You're older, 67, and just need to center. Yeah, there's my mom. My mom is an amazing woman, and she talks a lot about, like, quieting the noise and going inward, right? 10,000 Days of Gratitude. So sometimes that's all it takes. There's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of conflicting opinions, right? Nobody knows anything. This person says this, but then this person says that, and that sounds pretty good, but this sounds good. I don't know what to believe. So sometimes trusting our own internal clock, right? That's what's gotten me to where I am. I've done things that people would consider, like the mainstream media, doctors would consider insane, like literally insane, and they would probably call me crazy and stupid and all this stuff, and that's okay, because the truth is, I know that I wouldn't do it unless it made sense to me, and I consider myself a walking science experiment. And again, like, this life that we're living here is just a blip, right? And I don't just mean like in the spectrum of like, oh, humans are just a tiny little piece of like all of Earth. I mean, like, the history of all existence of everything. This life here is just a tiny little blip. And if we can recognize why we're here, we start to see, like, oh, it doesn't matter how much time. What am I here to share? What am I here to do? Who can I inspire? What can I understand? How can I learn? How can I grow? And that can happen in any instant. And that is where the breakthrough happens, right? Because we have these breakthroughs when we realize the point of everything, where we realize why we're here, what's going on, and then we recognize the healing that's happening. So again, if you're just joining, this will be reposted. Yeah, check out meditation videos for sure. My channel is all over the place. And if you're just joining, like, feel free to ask any questions about anything in life that you have. If there's something you're struggling with, curious about, I'm going to do my best to share what I know. But Zen Tarot, you see it. Yes, if 10,000 Days of Gratitude, if you want a reading right now, just say so and I will give you a reading. And you can tell me what you want it to be about, or just say, give me a reading. But this channel is, you enjoy life. And the whole idea is, like, what does it take to be in a state of joy? People might say, oh, joy, have a good time. But, like, no, you enjoy life. It's a formula for you to be in a state of joy in your life. Because being in a state of joy is being in a state of presence. Joy isn't happiness. To me, joy is presence. To be in the state of joy, to be, like, in that wonder, that excitement. It's, oh my God, this is amazing. What's going on, right? So if you are just coming on here, all the videos that I put on my channel, this guy is such a fraud. Yes. Wow. Yes, please, I would love a reading. Joel Conroy, this guy is such a fraud. I agree, I am. That's the whole point of this. There is no me. He never seems happy to me, LOL, okay? So, I'm going to do a reading right now, but Hey mate, it's good to see you. Thank you for content. I know you Brothers Green. Ash, great to see you as well. I was wondering if you could consider adding a bit of cooking improvisation into your life channel. Ash, I'll answer that question quickly. I'm going to do a bit of a reading. Maybe one day. I don't want to say I've retired from cooking. The truth is, I cook every single meal. My cooking has, I think, improved 10 times, tenfold since Brothers Green. I love cooking. I like teaching in person stuff, but just making cooking content, just yeah, maybe I'll do it again. I'm getting a new camera. Maybe it'll inspire me. But right now, I feel like I've given what I could in that space for now, and I'd like to upgrade. And then one day maybe I'll be ready again. So thank you. So I'm gonna do a reading. This is gonna be another random reading for you. And I wanted to address somebody said this guy's a fraud. He's never happy. First off, not a guy. I don't know what you want to call me, but you know, I would say I am a fraud, and the reason I am is because there is no me. And if you understand this channel, if you understand the books that I write, I'm just a reflection of you. And what are you calling me a fraud? No, what I'm trying to say is that you can look at me and make an assumption about who I am, what I do, what I believe, but it's all your own assumptions, right? So when people see someone and they think that they're fake and they're this and that, like whatever you're feeling, but from watching this video, is something within yourself. I have nothing to do with it. I say words, they come out, and you have an experience, and do what you want with that. And if you try to grab onto an idea of who you think I am, I promise you it's wrong, because I am not someone that can be labeled within the context of words and languaging. Like, oh, look, this person's this and they're that. I'm constantly changing, I'm constantly evolving, and words can't even grasp who I am. And I think it's the same for everybody. Okay, so we're gonna do a little reading here. 1, 2, 3. And forgive the sniffles. It's allergy season. Okay. Cool. So I'm excited about it. Can you smell 20 miles out with that big That's incredible. You know, I used to be so insecure about my nose. Maybe I grew into it. I love it now, but in high school, I did want a nose job. And I used to I would refuse to have people see me on, I tried to hide my nose, in pictures and stuff. I just thought it was gnarly. And now, it's I love it. Okay, here comes the reading. First card, intensity. And if you don't know, if you're just joining, this is a Zen-based reading. It's an Osho Tarot, and it's not so mystical so much as practical. It's based on Zen. They're very simple, beautiful cards. Roman nose, mate. Don't touch it. That's funny. Yeah, it's Roman nose. I like that. That's cool. Intensity. So yeah, these cards are very intuitive based. You can look at them and you can just make sense of them in that way. Intensity, number 1. Number 2, clinging to the past. Wow. Number 3, integration. Oh my God. Look at that. Wow. Okay. So this is, I've read probably thousands of readings from this deck. Every time they're amazing. And it's you can hardly even believe how perfect they always sync up. I think that deck was designed that way, but to me there's a bit of magic in that too. So I'm not sure where you are in life, but I appreciate you wanting to do a reading. And if you are joining us, we're just doing a Zen reading here, and this reading is specific for someone, and also it can be for anybody here. So you'll probably take something away from this. Okay, so intensity is, think of the word. There's probably something. There's an intensity either happening or that has probably happened. Now, I tend to like to start with the card. I don't want to say there's any negative cards in this deck, but I tend to like to start the story with something like this, right? Clinging to the past. In life, it's easy to cling to the past, to hold on to things that were good. I used to be in a band, and I had an amazing time, and then I was on a cooking show with my brother, and we traveled the world cooking for celebrities and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And there's moments where I've held on to that, and I think back oh, did I make the biggest mistake in my life, leaving that? I knew I had to, I knew it was right, but I have those moments where I cling to it, and I remember, and I reminisce, and I go back and watch old videos, and I'm like, damn, that was something special there. And what I can do is I can just hold on to it, right? And I can just let it get me down and be sad. Or I can start to recognize that there's something greater happening. It's reminding me of the beauty of life, right? And that there'll be more moments of that. Because if I can do it once, I can do it again. But when I do it again, now I'm in this new place. I'm in this new place of growth, this new place of openness, this new place of trust. So that's where often the intensity happens, where you're whoa, oh my God, I actually, like, whatever I did create in the past, that was all a lesson to propel me forward to the future. And then comes the integration, right? Because when we start to integrate these lessons that we've learned in the past, then we can create ourselves into a new space. It's like making a new friend. Maybe you have an old friend and you fell out of place, or let's even say a relationship. You're in a relationship, it was amazing, you had this incredible time, but then things went awry. Maybe you're still clinging to it. Oh, I'll never find anybody like that again. I'll never find this perfect person for me. And it can be really intense to go through that process. There's a certain intensity of going through that. But allow yourself to feel those feelings. Allow yourself to be sad, to be scared, to be worried, all the things. Because eventually, all the lessons that you learned, instead of clinging to the past, all the lessons that you learned from that past experience that was amazing, will lead to this integration where you can take the things you've learned and you can then attract a new partner, a new lover that's even more fit for you. Because at some point, no matter what you're clinging to, it's like with Brothers Green, it was amazing, and yet I had to get out. There was a reason, right? So that's where the integration comes from. Your music is cool. Thank you, Jasmine. I appreciate that. So yeah, I hope this reading was powerful. If anybody else, I can do one more reading. If anybody else wants a reading, you can either just say I want a reading, or you can ask me a specific question and I'll read to that question. And while I wait for a question to come in, it can also be, if you don't want to do a reading, you just have a question for me, feel free to ask away. I'm glad you appreciate the music. Music was my first love. Finding easier direction in the fog. It can be difficult to discover the first actions of right creative ideas that connect. Yeah, let me pull that. That was spot on. I'm glad it was spot on. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I love doing these readings. They're always incredible. It's crazy. Do you have advice on finding easier direction in the fog? It can be difficult to discover the first actions or right creative ideas that connect. Hey, Biku, look at this. Biku knows all the answers. Give me. Look at this kid. Biku knows the answers, right? You know the answers. I think there's so many distractions out there. There's so many people telling you what to do. There's books. You got to try this. You got to read that. It's like, you got to do this. I mean, how often are people just do this? So I don't want to be another person just telling you what to do. But finding a place to actually quiet your mind. Because I think we have all the information inside of us, and we have to learn these skills and develop these gifts, right? But I'm in a place now where something's wrong with me, or something happened, or I need to figure something out. It's like I can think there's a million different choices and options, but really they're all illusion, because the way is the way, right? If I have two options between two things, if I want to live this place or this place, right? I want to do this job or whatever it is. It's like, it seems like there's these options I have to choose. But really, once it becomes clear, the other option was never actually an option. It was just the way. So the only way to really do that I've seen is to just quiet the mind, right? That could be through meditation. That could be through taking a hike, walking around in nature barefoot, or whatever it means. But just taking time to silence the mind and just feel into anything, right? And if something starts to capture, it's like if you ever have a song in your head, I just start to sing it, because it's like, why is it in there? I don't know, I'll just start to sing it. So if there's something that's in there that's kind of a little thread that's pulling you towards something, rather than overthink, oh, should I do this? Is it going to be too much time? Is it going to be too hard? Just try it. Follow the flow of energy. It's something so small. It's like a little seed. You plant that seed, and slowly the seed grows. It's a very slow process. I mean, I grow lots of plants here, and I start them often from seed, and they start out tiny. And if I allow that patience, to grow, it just becomes this big and beautiful thing. So yes, there's a lot of fog, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of possibilities. But when you quiet the mind, when you go internal and you get rid of the noise and the distractions, there's something there that's trying to come through you. The reason I was able to write, I published 4 books in the last 3 or 4 years. When I write, it just comes out. I was not always like that. I used to be very distracted. I hated writing. I hated reading. I sucked at them both. But then when I started getting more creative, started playing music, started to just trust myself a little bit more and more. I mean, this process of trust has been going on for 20 years in my life, where I've been like, oh, cool, I can trust myself. I can lean into my own intuition. You do a little something, and it's like a little nudge from the universe saying yeah, good job. And then you do a little bit more, and the more and more and more you go, the more things make more sense. So I hope that was helpful. Yeah, and again, if anybody has any other questions, feel free to slip on here, ask away. Very deep question. What is the purpose of life in your opinion? Is it joy? Should we just maximize having joy in our lives? Yeah, purpose of life. This is a tricky question, not because
I don't have the answer, because I do. Funny enough. Funny enough. But life, we have questions in life that we think are real. And oftentimes, when we take enough time to look at the question, we dissolve, instead of finding the answer, we actually dissolve the question, right? Because we think purpose, like, what does purpose mean to you, right? Like, I love the word on purpose. Like, I did it on purpose. And not like, did you mean to hit your brother on purpose? Like, the kids fighting, and it's like, do you do that on purpose? Like, no, like, I mean, like, being on, like, purpose, like, the reason for living here, the reason for being. Now, there's a million stories that we can make up about what this means or what that means, and is my purpose to spread love? Is it to be a good person? Is it to maximize my own joy? And the thing is, there's no like one thing that life is, because life is always changing, it's transient. So the minute you think you've discovered your passion or your purpose, one day that can change, because life is constant change. Now, if I'd have to say there's anything that makes sense to me being here, it's like, in this body, in this flesh, this soul is reincarnated on this planet, right, in some form, to grow, to evolve, to change, and to shift. And it can take a lifetime to figure out what that really means for most people. But I don't think the purpose is joy. I think joy is an amazing thing. I love to share it. I think joy is a presence thing. Like I said earlier, like, being, you enjoy life is about being in that state of joy, because the purpose isn't necessarily joy, but when we're in the state of joy, then we can start to tap in to the things that make sense. Then we're not coming from fear. And this is where it really comes down to, is in life, we're either being driven by fear or by flow and truth and trust. And if your life is being guided by fear, and if you're doing things out of fear, that's okay. We're programmed from a young age to do things out of fear. But to me, the journey of life is to look at those fears and to recognize, wait, what? That doesn't make sense. Get that out of there. That doesn't make sense. Get that out of there. And the more we clear out our fears and go through that purging process, well, then there's something so simple underneath that. There's this little thing that's like, huh, I'm free, right? So I say, first, feel free. It's easier said than done, but the more you take time to look at your fears, and the more you get clear on who you are beyond the judgment, beyond the lies, beyond the confusion, there's something that's inside of you that you don't even have to think about. You're not even like thinking, what is my purpose? Because the minute you think about it, you grasp onto it, it changes, it's gone, right? And that can lead to suffering and confusion. So rather than try to figure out what your purpose is, recognize the purpose is something that's inside of you, that's beyond words, right? So as you clear out all these fears, you can actually do what you're here to do. You can live in alignment. And when you start living in that flow state and living in alignment, sure, it might change a million times, but there's a sense, there's a feeling to that where it's like, oh, this is why I'm here. I have those moments. For me, like, I host song circles and I bring people together and we sing. I have one tonight, and we tone and we play music and we just feel this freeness. And it's like, sometimes during the day I can feel uncomfortable. I'm working on the computer, I'm doing whatever, and dealing with human stuff. And I might be in a conversation, I might feel awkward, and I'm like bumbling around and da 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 da. And then I play music, and then I tone and I sing and I jam with other people. And then there's this moment where it's like, oh, there I am, and that's a recognition for me. It's like, there I am. That's it right there. And I'm not saying you're supposed to live in that state all the time, right? Because we don't need to just chase these moments as though they're the only moments, but to recognize that there's this thing inside of us that's bigger than our thoughts, our ideas, and our beliefs and our fears. And it's there, and it's waiting. And as we start to tap into it and awaken it, we just exist. And there's this feeling that happens when you sing music with other people, even if you're at a concert and you're dancing, where it all goes away, right? All the judgments and all the ideas and comparisons and worries, they go away. And in that moment, you recognize the freeness that you are. And then maybe you snap back into being fear state, and that's okay, because you catch yourself and you remember more and more. So I hope that was helpful. Yeah, it's a good question. It's always interesting getting that question. I think people do want to know. Yeah. Watching you over the years, something I attention, I think you have become calmer and more at peace. Maybe I'm wrong because I'm just seeing you on YouTube, but is this true? Yeah. So I'm going to read these chats again. They're coming in hot. It's so cool to see you guys. I just want to say a couple things. So I'm going to explain. So watching you over the years, something got my attention. I think you have become calmer and more at peace. Maybe I'm wrong because I'm just seeing you on YouTube, but is it true? Very true. I went through a pretty rough divorce, as divorces can be, and no harm, no foul on either side. But it was definitely it was intense. And within the same year, I left Brothers Green and went through a divorce, lost house, family, dog, all gone. Right, totally burning down the house, so to say. And it was a wild experience, but I knew I had to do it. I knew I had to go and set everything free, set everything on fire, so that there could be a freeness come through. And the thing about Brothers Green is it was an incredible experience. I'm so grateful for it. And sometimes I had that FOMO, the past, like clinging to the past thing, right? Where I remember like, oh damn, that was great. And I remember I've had people say when I was leaving Brothers Green, it's like, you'd be crazy to leave something that successful, right? Yeah, I went through that moment too. People were saying you'd be crazy to leave something that successful, but I've just come to understand that there's no physical thing that has any intrinsic value, right? It's what we make of it. So we can hold on to these ideas and say, oh, this is who you are. You're successful. You have all these things. Listen, when I was living in Brooklyn playing music in a band, I had nothing. Like, I could afford rent and basic things. I spent a year, I didn't even buy food. I was dumpster diving and foraging and just like fasting and whatever. And I was having some of the best times of my life. Right? I wasn't going to bars. I wasn't going to parties and no. I was having people come over and we would pool money together. People would bring over ingredients and I would cook. Right? And we'd jam and have a good time. And then I started making a lot of money, and I had my own cooking show and was making a lot of money. And for me, not most people. For me, it was like, oh my god, I'm rich. I remember the first time we made like $3,000. Like, I'm rich. But I was doing really well, and I was more stressed out about money than ever. So it's kind of funny, right? So it's never the material thing that means anything. So yeah, Brothers Green was amazing. I'll never forget it. I'm grateful for it. And even though I had millions of people watching and it was a whole thing, I feel so much more resonant with this right now. And as long as I can figure out how to make my life work, which I have, then it doesn't matter how many people, right? I don't care about the quantity. It's always in the quality. I think there were some people that wrote in. I'm going to check out some of these chats. This is so fun. I'm going to do more of these for sure. Strike me as someone doing that work of becoming free. It seems to have made such a difference. It's kind of madness to the recession in the world. Yeah. Nothing to me is more important than having that freedom. And I don't mean physical freedom. I mean freedom here, right? Because no matter what circumstances you have, you can have your freedom here. And I know that I don't want to generalize, and people are in different situations, and it's easy to look at reasons why some people are more free than others, but this is something that I just know to be true from my own experience. And it wasn't something that just happened. It's been many years. I mean, awakening and waking up happens quickly because you become aware of oh wow, it's like waking up from the Matrix. You're like, oh my god, that was all bullshit, and now I need to actually figure out what to do in this life. And that takes years and years to adjust to that. But what I found is being in that state of freeness, then everything comes. What most people try to do is they're like, oh, I need to make a lot of money, or I need to get a new job, or I need to find a perfect partner, and then I'll feel free. I need to get the right house, and all these things that they want and they need and they desire. And those things can be helpful, right? But first, feel free, right? So no matter what state you're in, if you can be in a state of freeness and start looking at your fears and your doubts and your judgments and start purging them, well, then from that free place, you can create whatever you want. One of my favorite authors, I'm going to paraphrase this, but he says, first wake up. Then if you want to save the dolphins or fix world hunger, or just, go be a janitor, whatever it is, great, lucky whales and the dolphins, whatever. But first wake up, so that's this process, right? And that's why I give away all my books for free. And if you're seeing this, click on the links in any of my other videos. I give away my books because it's got all this information on there, right? You can also email me always at youenjoylifemusic@gmail.com. youenjoylifemusic@gmail.com. And email me there if you're like, hey, I want one of those books, or I just have a question for you. I don't have the capacity physically myself to answer everybody's questions all the time, but that is the beauty of having a smaller channel. I'm not getting millions of people asking me questions anymore. Yes, the more you lose and let go, the freer you are. I'm clinging to the past and the career and stuff, but I'm trying to. Yeah, and letting go, it just happens, right? not to say that, but I feel you. I mean, it was a great thing, and Brothers Green, it happened because Mike and I, we there was something there. It wasn't a conscious choice, but the universe is like, you guys are doing this now. And to me, to see the people that we've inspired, and my brother still gets to inspire. I mean, I'm honestly very proud of him. It took me a while to get to that place because there was that sort of fear or like kind of like, did I make the wrong choice? And I had to kind of purge that whole thing. And just to be a brother with my brother now, we were business partners for years, and you kind of have to choose at some point. But to get to see him inspiring people and doing his channel, um, you know, I think it's amazing. And who knows, one day there could, it's funny to me, I was talking to Derek Lucci about it, and, just the idea, it kind of trips me out, but that some people would actually like want to see a reunion or even see me cook in general, because I like forget that I walked away from it. Because the truth is, having a cooking show was never a dream of mine. It was something that happened that I saw the universe was like, just go ahead and do this now. And it was like, okay. And then it will all make sense one day. And then when it started to make sense, I was like, oh, cool. But it wasn't like a dream of mine. That's why I think Brothers Green worked, is because you had two brothers. My brother wanted a cooking show. That was his dream. And I did not. So like this dynamic of somebody trying to host a cooking show while the other person is trying to like destroy it, basically, it created something really special. And I do love cooking. Like I said, if you're just joining, I cook as much, if not more, than I ever have in my life. And my cooking, I feel way more confident in my cooking than I did back in the Brothers Green days. I was maybe more creative back then and always check trends and what's interesting and unique. But now the food I make is like, I have no desire to eat out pretty much at any restaurant ever, because I know the food that I'm making for myself is better than any food I could ever buy. And I'm not saying there aren't great chefs out there that make incredible meals and all these things, but I just know what I like, and I know how to make food taste good. But most importantly, I know how to make food with love. So people want to see me get back in the kitchen. I'm not saying it's never going to happen. It's like I'm not saying Brothers Green reunion won't happen, but I don't know. I know right now that is not my reality. But I'm open to anything happening, because if something makes sense, I'm going to go for it. Right? And if it doesn't, I'm not going to do it. That's why I write. Like, I'll show you right here. Yeah. So these are all my books, right? Well, not all. I have more, but this is all in the series, the newest one. And the reason I love to write is because it just comes out of me. It's not like a choice. Like, I really need to write a book. I hear people all the time like, I really want to write a book, but I can't. And I'm like, I don't choose to write. One day something comes over me and I'm like, whoa. I just wrote a whole book. Like, literally, most of those books, the first draft is written in oftentimes a week or two. So I wrote the Barefoot book from start to publish. It took me 5 days. And I was just like, oh, it just came out of me. And I'm not saying that to like toot my own whistle or whatever. But that's the flow state, right? When you're not in fear, you're not doubting yourself, and you're not like criticizing you, it just comes out. So that's why I say first feel free, and then that magical thing inside of you that wants to come out is just gonna fly out, and you're gonna be like, oh my god, it flew out. Okay, just got some questions. Has your cooking experience changed since Costa Rican foods? I mean, it's definitely simplified, I think, a lot of ways. What I appreciate about Costa Rican foods is just, it's fresh, it's simple. Like, honestly, I just want to eat fruit when I'm there. It's so good. And simple things like plantains. Plantains are so good. I want to thank you for teaching me the basics of cooking and improvisation, also the sage advice. Yeah, my pleasure. Great to see you in this wholesome state. I left a lot in the past, too. How do you clean your mind from doubting your choices? It's just awareness. I think people think that they can have these big breakthroughs, and they might, but most of the breakthroughs are like so subtle. It's like your hair growing. You're not aware of it. If you were to go into a coma and wake up in 2 years, well, maybe you're like, well, I've got a long hair, a beard, or whatever. But day to day, you don't notice your hair growing, right? You don't see it happening because it's so slow and so subtle. So the more you bring in awareness and you catch yourself doubting, every time I catch myself, I still go into states of fear, but the thing is, I don't make up a story about it. I've trained my mind when there's fear, I catch myself and I'm like, oh, that's just fear. Okay, cool. On to the next thing, right? Take the time to process it and let it go. And the more you do that,
the more you get better at doing that, and the faster you catch yourself, and the less time you spend in that state of doubt. So think about that. And I gotta get going, but this has been awesome. I'm really glad to have done this. And I'm probably gonna do more. I haven't been doing many YouTube videos. I built a course on living barefoot. I also made a whole music course. If you're into music and you want to learn more about it, you can check those things out. All my videos have links to all these things. So yeah, go check that out. But I've made like a ton of videos, but they're kind of in this course right now. So I'm gonna be doing more of these, I think. And